Hi, everyone. I wanted to send along a little bit of a preview of our team building exercise next week to outline the timeline and provide some direction. As you know, we've recently welcomed Melanie in as our new part-time faculty leader. To set the stage, Melanie, the five of us have worked together for the last 3.5 years. Since then, all of our roles have changed from 25% management to either 100% management for Kristen, Ella, Ian, and myself, or 50% management for Jessica. And you're starting out at 25, 50% management. We have been through some long-term training on managing people. In the ed tech space particularly, but haven't for quite a while. We've just had one exercise since Audra left last year. So I do have a little slideshow. The purpose of this hour next week is to not necessarily integrate Melanie into the team, but to work on building a new team going forward. Each of us has different strengths and backgrounds in leadership and education, as well as different perspectives. I think we've all come to sense each other's perspectives, but don't necessarily have the background to provide the reasoning behind it. Or at least we don't remember it from the last time we spoke about it. Over the next week, please read part 2 of Unger's Leadership Lessons from a Team Captain. I'm sending this to you as well. These chapters succinctly summarize all the training that Audra led us through over the past few years, simplifying key aspects of leadership. We'll use this as a framework to base our needs assessment and objectives around, while keeping those objectives in mind during the final teamwork activity. Additionally, for pre-work, please scour your tutor teams and identify the 2 situations, conversations, or outcomes from working with the tutor over the past year that were the most challenging for you as a manager in the EdTech space. This could be one that you approached quite well and one you wish you had a do-over for, 2 that were just fine, 2 that you currently have, or whatever might be helpful to discuss as a team. Melanie, since you don't have a team yet, please come with an open mind and willingness to contribute with your perspective. I'll explain more about this activity in a few slides. We'll spend the first 5 minutes catching up and welcoming Melanie, the next few going over the agenda, and the timeline for the rest of the meeting is stated here on this screen. The last 10 minutes after the second activity will be spent in reflection and takeaways. I have some considerations and potential challenges to keep in mind as we go through this hour, but please send me any that you think of over the next week. When we meet, we'll address how to overcome some of these challenges together. For example, the familiarity that the 5 of us have with the challenges of leading large teams of tutors could lead to cloudy explanations of challenges, isolating Melanie from grasping the core of the challenge. Our varying priorities in management could lead to semantical or otherwise arguments over what to focus on first when seeking challenge resolutions. Our hindsight is 2020. So when reviewing challenges for the second teamwork activity, it's easy for us to look at what we should have done in an ideal world instead of what else we were capable of doing at the time or can do in the moment. We've read through Belbin's team role theory together, and we can easily pigeonhole ourselves or each other, limiting our ability to respond objectively. What else should we keep in mind as we go through this workshop? Please send me any thoughts you have here. My thoughts are that if we can identify what limitations we have going into this, we can work on holding each other accountable for limiting thought, isolating Melanie, and committing ourselves to finding a greater alignment in approaches to managing large teams of educators. From Unger's book, there are 4 main elements to success leadership: inspiring and maintaining motivation for yourself and team members, building harmony in the team and alongside the company's goals, interpersonal relationships, and trust development. Where do we see opportunities to build on each of these four elements in our day-to-day work, in our team or one-on-one meetings, in our written communication of emails or Slack messages? What do we need from each other to provide cohesive messaging and to support these four values across teams, not just within the team? I'd like you to think of this over the next week as well and send me any ideas. We'll spend a few minutes brainstorming in the meeting as well, and we'll use these needs to guide our responses to challenges in the activities. What else do you want out of this time together? I have taken the liberty to copy over a few elements from previous faculty leader meeting notes, and I've asked Melanie to send a couple goals my way as well. Some objectives for these activities, our time together next week, and for going forward include collaborative communication. While we are quite respectful of each other in meetings, we tend to state our point and move on. How do we use each other's points to build towards solutions? Delegation. We have a lot of project ideas and have been quite successful with them previously, but let's make sure we maintain identification of tasks within a timeline over the summer. Alignment on policy and SOPs. Now that Melanie's here, let's make sure we state what our alignment is when we bring up a policy or SOP. For example, what's the priority for the policy and why is it worded this way? Specifically, I'm thinking of the recent vacation policy that took us 3 meetings to finalize. Timelines. Referring back to SOPs, let's make sure we state expected time on task for our day-to-day activities that we refer to or mention within our challenge collaboration. Fundamentally, as we review real-life actual tutor challenges, we should be able to better understand and reveal how to work together as a team with aligned and clear policy, task expectations, ideas for future projects, as well as identifying what current parts of the role need more clarification. We'll repeat the second activity from today in future team building workshops as well to gauge progress on clarity, communication, and process. Now that we have a better concept of goals and needs of work as a team together, we'll take some time to get to know the individual motivations behind our perspectives and positions. We'll spend this first activity for about 10 minutes, 1 to 2 minutes each, giving an overview of our foundational, educational, and work experiences, what motivates us as a leader. Think of Melanie's interview question about the guiding principle of managing people. Talk about people who inspire us and what are the most challenging and rewarding aspects of managing educators, which coincidentally was a question that 5 out of the 6 applicants asked Ella and I in our meetings, and I'm sure the rest of you got that as well. Then we'll collaborate for about 25 minutes on our challenge areas that I'm asking you to prepare. I'm asking you to bring a couple just in case they overlap. We'll popcorn around to explain the problem and provide context. And then I'd like us to consider how we can bring the guiding principles from the needs assessment and objectives to solve the problem with our current understanding of managing educators, as well as the educator's own needs and the end result for students and families. This slide will be filled out in the meeting. I'll send you the completed slide deck after the meeting along with the Fathom recap so we can reference our takeaways going forward during challenging faculty leader meetings. That is the overall, I do have references here, but that's the overall plan for the meeting. Granted, some things may shift that timeline a little bit, but I do want to make sure that we spend a good amount of time talking about the expectations of the faculty leader in terms of both day-to-day reality and larger concepts of managing people. As we discuss, I'm sure more or varied challenges will come up, and certainly there's room in this timeline for Melanie to ask questions. But I'm really looking forward to hearing everybody's perspective as we welcome Melanie and as we take a look at our choices in leadership, specifically with the lens of our shared goals and outcomes. All right, so as always, let me know if you have any questions. Send along all of that information that I asked you about throughout the slideshow ahead of time, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks for listening.